Welcome to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about homesteading stuff and life stuff and everything in between. Join me, Amy Dingman, as we explore big questions on a little farm. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Farmish Kind of Life podcast, where we talk about life and how to live a good one. I'm your host, Amy Dingman, coming to you from a small homestead in central Minnesota, where we raise and grow a lot of food. We do a lot of cooking and baking from scratch, but sometimes we still grab a frozen pizza because it is almost 2025 and life gets busy. Isn't that the great thing about modern homesteading? We can make our own yogurt and cheese and bake bread from scratch and do all this stuff, and then we can put all the dishes in the dishwasher. And it washes the dishes for us while we're out doing something else. Isn't this an amazing time to be alive? Today is Tuesday, December 31st. Happy New Year's Eve. This is episode, is this 302? I think I should have checked. I hope it's 302. Today's topic is why we need to be honest about the year that's ending before we jump into all the plans and dreams for the year that's about to start. And we're not only going to talk about why this is important to do, but we're going to talk about how to do it, how to be honest in your reflections of the last year. And there's one tool that's going to help you with this, and it's probably one of the only times that I'm going to talk about how great it is to have a smartphone. This topic is actually a piggyback or a response episode to someone else's podcast that I listened to this past week that was really mind shifting, okay? Dare I say life-changing in how I assessed what's really happening in my life, because let me tell you, what I think is happening is completely different than what is actually happening, and that needs to stop for me and maybe for you too. But before we get to that, what's been happening on the lifestead? Well, Christmas was wonderful. It was a little bit different this year. This is the first year that we had a kid not living at home and was not with us for Christmas. They came home a little bit after Christmas. So that was interesting. And actually, it was just my husband and I on Christmas because our oldest also stayed home because he was sick. So Christmas was my husband and I, which was odd because my husband almost always works on Christmas, but he was actually off this year. And so it was like a little romantic date, just the two of us going around to these Christmas celebrations, doing our thing. So always nice to be together. Very strange that it happened on Christmas, but hey, I will take it. That is awesome. What else? It has been super foggy here. It has been unseasonably warm here in Minnesota. It's been in the 30s up to the 40s. That is uncalled for in Minnesota at this time of year. All of our snow is gone, the little bit of snow that we had. And because there's so much moisture in the air, there has been so much fog, y'all, like super, super dense fog, just like that's suffocating. I can't see more than 2 car lengths in front of my car. And then it gets right to that like 30, 31, 32. And then the fog freezes on the road. So that is super fun. So I've been wishing for safe travel for everybody over this holiday time. So I don't know what the weather's doing where you are, but I don't know. Ma Nature, she's having a moment, I think. What else has been happening? We had a really productive weekend after all the Christmas festivities were done. We had a really productive weekend in the barn. We actually culled some birds that were no longer laying. I've had 2 different coops of chickens here at the farm for several months. We had originally wanted this year to move all of our animals over to the little barn. The little barn on our property is in better shape. It's much warmer. It's all that we need. We don't have a ton of animals anymore. So, to have everything in the big barn and the little barn and run between the 2 barns, it just doesn't make sense anymore. So the plan has been for a while to move everything to the little barn. Haven't done that yet. When we decided we were going to cull all the big birds that were in the big barn because they were no longer laying, we're talking, I had like 20 birds over there that gave me maybe 3 eggs in the last month. It was time for them to go because I guess I'm kind of a hard ass. And if you're at my farm, you need to be producing for me because I'm a tyrant like that. I don't know, or maybe I'm respectful of my bank account. I don't know. But it was time for them to go. So we called them. Then after we did that, the Muscovies that were in the big barn, we gathered those all up. There's only 3 of them, but it's a process to move Muscovies because they are giant ducks with claws and they're mad and, whatever. So put them in a big dog kennel and move them across the yard to the little barn, put them in their new area. So now all of our animals on the farm are in the little barn. And so that just felt like super, like, oh, that's done. Thank goodness. The cats are still wandering wherever they want because they're cats and they do what they want, right? So I am glad that that is done. We also moved the radio from the big barn to the little barn. So it feels kind of official. Now we got tunes over in the little barn. They're out of the big barn. We're making this big shift. The only thing that we now have to figure out with the little barn, make some final decisions about, is how the birds are going to get outside in the spring. I'm not worried about it right now because they don't go outside in the winter. The chickens are like, hey, I don't like the snow. So they generally stay inside anyway, so I'm not worried about that. The ducks, the Muscovies, when we had pecans, they would be outside all the time. Like it could be 60 below. And they would be like, I love this weather. This is amazing. These Muscovies, they're like, as soon as it drops below like 10, I'm good. I'm just going to stay inside. So I'm not worried about them not getting outside in the winter. But clearly for the spring, we'll need to figure that out. And we have two different options. We already know like it's going to be option A or option B. We're just trying to figure out which one makes the most sense, because it feels like if we do option A, here are the issues we need to deal with. And if we do option B, here are the other issues we have to deal with. So we've got a little bit of time to figure out what we're going to do. But all of that to say, I'm really glad that process of moving everything over and getting rid of the birds that were no longer laying, like it was a very productive day. And you're like, oh, great, that's done. Awesome. So there you go. Let's head over to this main topic and talk about how we are going to be very honest about how we're going to look back in this whole year that is ending tomorrow, I guess, and how that's going to help us to move forward in the new year. So this episode is actually a sort of response episode to a podcast episode that I listened to several days ago on the Mel Robbins podcast. Now, I haven't listened to Mel Robbins for a long time, but I happened to catch kind of a little short reel or like a TikTok like teaser of one of her episodes, and I thought, that sounds really interesting. And so I went and found her podcast again and listened to this episode. And the episode hit me real hard, y'all. And I don't want to plagiarize her. I don't want to steal her entire episode. So I do highly suggest that you go listen to this episode. It's well worth the listen. And maybe it will change the way you're looking at the year that we're coming out of and the year that we're going into. Her episode is called How to Make This Year the Best Year. Ask yourself these 7 questions. I think it's episode 247. I will put a link in the show notes for you. But I'm going to summarize one part of it because it got my brain going down a path and it helped me with some realizations that I think are really going to move me forward in a realistic and honest way in this coming year. Which, I mean, if we're honest, that's not how we always do it. Now, I don't care if you call them resolutions or you call them plans or goals or a giant to-do list, but at some point you sit down and you try to figure out what you want the new year to be, right? And I generally start doing that mid to late December when I've kind of wrapped my head around the crazy of the Christmas season. I'm like, okay, now I'm going to figure out the new year, right? And I open a document on my computer and I start writing down all these categories and trying to figure out where I want my life to go in all these different columns, like business and health and financial life and farm and relationships and all that. And I write down all these great intentions and plans, and I smile and I feel real good about my directions. Great. I thought about the new year. This is what I'm going to do. But then I listened to Mel's podcast, and she points out something. She points out the fact that we always fail to look back on the year that we're coming out of as we look forward into the new year. Now, if we're looking at business stuff, right, it's really easy to kind of assess what your year has been because you can generally look at your bank statement or stats on your website or whatever. Like it's all right there. You can look at it. Okay, that's what it was. But it's a little different when it comes to actual life, right? And even if we do look back at the old year, we fail to do it with realism and honesty. And that's not always because we're trying to be dishonest or we're trying to be unrealistic. I think it's because we don't use the right tools to look back on the past year in a realistic and honest way. So one of the things that she suggests, she has these 7 questions, right? But before she really gets to the 7 questions, she's like, here's what you're going to do to figure out these 7 questions. She suggests, pick up your phone, your smartphone, and tap on that little thing that's going to get you to your camera roll. Or that little thing that's going to get you to your calendar. Tap on that. Okay? And we often say that scrolling is mindless and it wastes time, but this scrolling that we're going to talk about is going to be eye-opening, and it's going to be a huge learning experience, because what this is going to show you is the year you actually had. Not the one you think you had, not the one you say you were going to have, not the one you imagine you had. This is going to show you the year you actually had. Now, if you are someone who doesn't use your phone camera a lot, this probably won't be as eye-opening for you. My husband takes maybe 10 pictures a year, and they are generally parts numbers for something he either needs to like blow up to be able to see more clearly what the part number is, or he takes the picture so then he can remember what the number of the part is that he needs to order. That's generally how he uses his phone, right? So this exercise for him would not be as telling. Just like for me, opening my calendar app isn't going to tell me much of anything, because for me, most things go on my paper calendar, not my phone calendar, because I'm tactile, right? And then I have like my paper calendar, and once the month is done, I rip that sheet off and I throw it away, and it goes in the garbage. So I don't have any record of what we've done in the year. But hopefully one of these options that we're going to talk about is going to work for you. And if not, hopefully you're going to get the point and you're going to be able to relate it to some other method that you use. But okay, so here's the exercise. Here's the thing you're going to do. Open your camera or your Google Photos or whatever on your phone, wherever your pictures are stored, okay? Search January 2024. Look at all your pictures. Then search February 2024. Look at all your pictures. And then search March 2024 and look at all your pictures. You see where I'm going with this, right? We're going to go through the whole year. We're going to look at all our pictures. And when you're looking at all your pictures, 2 things are going to happen. Number 1, there's going to be a lot of things you forgot happened. How many of us remember what happened in January 2024? I know I didn't. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. I forgot that happened. So that's the first thing that's going to happen. The second thing that's going to happen is you're going to see what you actually did, not what you thought you did. You're going to see what actually went on in your life, not what you think went on in your life, not what you wanted to happen in your life, not what you intended to happen in your life. You're going to see what actually went on in your life. It's going to be right there in front of your face. And Mel Robbins goes on to talk about these 7 questions that you're then going to answer after you look through all these photos or you look through your calendar or however you end up doing this. For this podcast episode I'm only going to focus on question 3, her question number 3, which is, what did you learn about yourself? This is why you got to go listen to the podcast so you can get all the questions, because it's all good stuff. I'm going to tell you all, when I did this, and I'm scrolling through all my pictures, and I take a lot of pictures, you guys, a lot of pictures. I'm scrolling through all my pictures, and my brain had this holy crap moment. Because in all honesty, the year I thought I had was not the year I actually had. And the things I thought I was making important definitely did not show up when I looked back. This was like a thing, y'all. I was down for like 2 days. I was like, oh my gosh. The vast majority of my pictures from 2024 are of food, animals, projects at my farm, or selfies of me that I took for some post or some article or whatever I needed to make, right? There aren't many pictures, and I mean seriously, hardly any of me with other people or out doing stuff with others away from the farm or being involved with other people. That's a problem. As much as we want to joke about hating people or I'm just more comfortable at home, The fact that I can probably count on two hands the pictures I took the entire year that had to do with something that involved other people or something other than my farm is a problem. It's a problem. It's not my intention. Now, some folks might say, and it would also be really easy to use the excuse that, Amy, you work online. You have a website. You do a lot of social media and YouTube, et cetera, et cetera. And so, of course, you need a ton of pictures of what you're doing on the farm. Of course, you need a bunch of selfies for making thumbnails or showing yourself doing a project. Of course, Amy, it's fine. But you guys, there are no other pictures. I don't have pictures of all the motorcycle rides we were going to go on because we didn't go on them. I don't have pictures of all the last-minute family get-togethers or the dinners out with friends or the campfires or the picnics because they didn't happen for us to take pictures of. Even though in my head, I intended for all of that to happen. I intended so hard, you guys. If intention could make things magically materialize, man, we did so much awesome stuff last year. Except there's no pictures because it didn't happen. So, Mel's number 3 question, what did I learn about myself? What did I learn about myself going through all these pictures? Now, looking at all the pictures, or the lack of pictures that I had intended would be there, showed me some super obvious things. Obviously, right? But then it also got me thinking about other stuff. And just this simple thing of looking at the pictures and being honest about the year that I had just sent me into this, I don't want to say it was a spiral because it wasn't like I was going down into this, terrible thing, but it was a good 48 hours of super honest realizations and super honest, okay, here's what's actually happening, and super honest, okay, here's what needs to happen. All these conversations with myself. So I'm going to be grossly honest with you here. Not gross, like inappropriate, but like just super honest, okay? Here is a smattering of super honest things that I learned about myself from this stupid, simple, brick to the face exercise of looking through the pictures at my phone. Obviously, as I've already stated, there weren't a lot of pictures of family and friends going away from the farm, all of that, right? So that was the big realization. So obviously, in-person family and friends needs to be a much bigger thing in my camera roll in 2025, as well as places that aren't my farm. I am very social online. I am not as social as I think I am or imagine I am in real life, in person. That's a problem. It's such a problem. We all have an invisible clock that's ticking, and nobody knows when it's going to end, right? It's true of myself. It's true of you. It's true of all the people around you. There needs to be more pictures of in-person stuff in my camera roll in 2025. That's all I'm going to say about that. The second thing is I waste a lot of time at the computer, and my work time needs to be more intentional so it's more productive, so I have more time to be with other people doing stuff. Another thing I realized looking through these pictures, and you're not seeing my pictures, but here's something else I realized. I don't know how to be the parent of an adult child, and I have 2. I don't know how to be the parent of an adult child. It is weird. Nobody knows where the boundaries are. And I think my default has been to be, I don't want to be the overbearing, in your face, just obnoxious parent. And so I think for the last year, I have maybe gone the exact opposite and been probably way less involved and just kind of silent and uninvolved. And it's weird. And I don't know what else to comment on that, but it's something that I learned from the pictures that I took. I don't know how to be the parent of an adult child. I don't know if any of us do. Number 4, I'm very good at not getting stressed about stupid, pointless stuff. Like, it takes a lot to stress me out. But when things go wrong with other people that I can't fix, that I can't ignore, that I can't back away from, I almost have like a physical reaction to it. And I don't need to tell you what these situations were in my life, but there were some things that happened this year that I couldn't fix. Like, we just had to walk through it. mostly things that were painful for other people and I couldn't fix them. And I realized this year, I don't deal with that very well. Like physically, I don't deal with that very well. It's like for all the other stuff I can handle, there are some things that I just absolutely crumble over. And I feel that's probably true of everybody, but it was something I realized this year, something I had to come to terms with this year. And pictures, my camera roll, helped me remember that. Another thing that's kind of related to that is I've created a life where I'm really comfortable and I'm at peace. You know, we have a peaceful household. We have we're comfortable here, right? We got a comfortable life. And that's like the ultimate goal, right? You want to be comfortable in your life. You want to be at peace in your life. And yet when a situation comes up in my life that really messes with that, it's really hard for me to deal. It's almost like the breaking point for me for stress is like so far up there, right? Like you got to climb mountains to get to where my breaking point is. But when I reach it, it's like I'm 10 times worse than I really need to be. I learned that from pictures, y'all. I learned that by going through pictures. Another thing I realized as I was, doing all this thinking is I have a lot of anxiety now about the weather, about driving, about stuff with my kids, anxiety about stuff I never had before. A lot of anxiety about health stuff. I never had this anxiety before. And this could be a stage of life thing. This could be a hormonal thing. I absolutely accept that. I don't know. But I just realized, wow, there's some stuff I got some anxiety about that were not issues for me before. So that was also interesting. Going through your pictures will just jog a bunch of stuff, y'all. I highly suggest that you do it. Another thing that I realized, it's very easy for me to say that I'm busy. I think it's a defense mechanism. Because yes, I run a farm, but it's not like I run a 200-acre farm. I don't even have large livestock anymore. I don't have kids running around anymore. And yeah, I write books, but there are people who write books on their lunch break. It's very easy for me to say that I'm busy. It's a defense mechanism. I haven't figured out what that defense mechanism is for, but my default is to say that I'm busy. And I believe in my mind that I'm very busy. And it's not like I'm sitting here just not doing anything, but I've lost structure. I don't know. Another thing related to that probably is that if any opportunities come up for me to get involved in, like a trip, a party, whatever, I immediately fill my brain with reasons I shouldn't go because of all the possible things that might happen while I'm away. Like the only reason things are working is because I'm taking care of them. And because of this, number one, I miss out on a lot of stuff because in my head, I just make it easier to stay home. Like it's just easier. Then I don't have to worry about it. And the other thing is I don't allow anyone else to have to deal with anything, which is probably an experience they need to have that I'm robbing them of. And just as I'm sitting here talking to you all, I feel like maybe this is just symptoms and side effects of having control issues and anxiety. What are we learning about Amy today? What are you going to learn about yourself when you dig into your pictures or your calendar? It could be super fun, y'all. What's some more? There's a couple more things I learned. I am selfish and I am incredibly prideful. And not in a, I'm going to brag about how great I am kind of way, which is how we normally think about pride, right? But in a way that's like, why don't people understand how I look at the world? Well, duh, they're not me. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually working on a project right now where I'm writing a lot about pride and humility. It might end up to be a book, I don't know, but y'all, when you dig into it, holy moly, so many of the things that we do are because of pride and because we want people to think about us in a certain way. And oh man, holy moly, that has been a huge realization this year. And looking at the fact that I have very few pictures in my camera roll of anybody else, and it's all my farm and my stuff and my plans and my ambitions and my aspirations and me. You guys, what a gross realization. And how delightfully vulnerable it is to sit here and share this with you. Here's another thing that I learned. I am super hypocritical in the sense that I say I want to cook and bake for other people and I want to have my own little bakery truck or a little shop for friends and family. And then when the holidays or get-togethers come, I'm sometimes the person who basically brings the chips. Like, what is that? I also talk about how food and meals are super important. But the honest thing is, like, I go between having the whole week planned out. I know what I'm making. I got the menu all planned out. And then I will have these phases where, like, I don't know what I'm going to make 30 minutes before it needs to be done. What the heck, you guys? I feel like I just unloaded, like, blah, here is Amy. Here's all the gross realizations about Amy. But hopefully that is helpful for you. Hopefully me being honest with you is helpful for you to maybe dig in and go, oh yeah, that's describing me too. Or that's the total opposite of me. Here's what I struggle with. Y'all, looking into your pictures, looking into your calendar, however you decide to do this super honest actual assessment of the last year, like, pictures don't lie, okay? And I mean, there is AI now, but I'm guessing you're not spending your free time asking AI to, like, create pictures of you at a family picnic at the lake, right? So what's in your camera is what happened, my friends. Do you like what you see? And do you like the things you realize about yourself when you start looking at what you see and how you're spending your time and where your thoughts are going? Do you like that? I was thinking about this the other day, and I realized that this exercise would have helped me in a different, opposite way several years back when I was like the mom running around with 2 kids and I was busy and feeling like I totally sucked and that my kids probably didn't do anything fun and I'm probably ruining their life with boredom or whatever, and I need to make things way more fun and way more exciting and do all the things. If I would have looked through a year of photos then, if I would have grabbed my phone and I would have looked through my phone, which probably had even more pictures back then, right? If I would have seen all the things that we'd done right there in front of my face because I took pictures of everything, I probably would have stopped worrying about it as much. And maybe you need to do that too. Maybe this exercise will show you the exact opposite thing from what it showed me. That's the beauty of looking through your camera roll. So that's what I have for you today. This easy exercise. Go to your phone, open your Google Photos, whatever, wherever you store your photos. Look at your photos from the last year. You're going to remember a lot of things you forgot happened, and you're also going to see what actually happened, okay? And that's going to lead you down a path trying to figure out this next year, because then you can look forward and go, okay, here's how I'm actually going to move forward in the next year. Here are the things I'm really going to be intentional about. Here's the things I'm going to stop worrying about, like, whatever. I think this is such a great exercise, and it was so helpful for me, smacked me in the face with a lot of things. And if that's what you need, then here you go. Go check out Mel Robbins' podcast episode about this, because she's got a lot of good stuff in there. 7 questions for you to answer that I think are just really going to help you step into 2025 with just some better insight on what needs to happen. That's what I got for you today. Thank you so much for hanging out with me again here and spending your New Year's Eve or whenever you listen to this. There's a gazillion podcasts out there that you can listen to, but you keep coming back here to hear what I've got to say. Have a great week, you guys, and I will talk to you again soon. Hope you enjoyed the show today. To continue the conversation, visit our website at afarmishkindoflife.com, find A Farmish Kind of Life on social media, or drop me an email at amy@afarmishkindoflife.com. Peace, love, and bacon, y'all. Stay farmish.